Next on Imágenes, the war in Colombia and its repercussions in New Jersey. Saludos, I'm Miguel Perez. Welcome to Imágenes. Our guests today come from a country where the rule of law and common decency and humanity are constantly violated by leftist rebels, right-wing extremists, and drug cartels. Back home in Colombia, they left mistrust, fear, anguish, caused by lawlessness and immorality and bloodshed. They left war of terror that has claimed 35,000 lives in the last 10 years alone. And when they get here, they live in a community that is constantly haunted by negative stereotypes. These are people who have been tagged with an image they do not deserve, people who have been penalized by the actions of a few, people who are tired of getting negative reactions when they reveal their nationality. The civil war in Colombia, and the war on drugs in Colombia, and the many ways it affects the Colombian-American community. That's the subject we'll be discussing with Wilson David Bernal of the Hispanic-American Alliance of New Jersey, Ileana Montes, who's the president of the Hispanic Bar Association of New Jersey, and Jorge Castro, president of the Colombian-American Congress. Welcome to the program. It's a pleasure having you here. For a long time, we've been talking about dealing with the issue of Colombia and how it affects the Colombian community here. All of you have been very involved in this process. Jorge, you even organized a major meeting of the Colombian community here in New Jersey. Let's talk about that first. 2 congressmen attended that meeting.
Yeah, it was Congressman Robert Menendez and Congressman Steve Rothman. And one of the reasons why we put together this historical meeting with 2 members of the Department of State who came from Washington was, number one, to make the community understand, and the members of the United States Congress understand, that there are many Colombians here in the United States, specifically in New York and New Jersey, you know, that's what this meeting was organized for, that are honest, hardworking people, people who fled Colombia with their families, because they don't want to be involved in the violence that is going on in our country, the guerrilla groups, the kidnappings, the assassinations.
But at that meeting, it also came out, I think you were there as well, Wilson, it also came out how interested the Colombian community is in seeing Congress do something about Colombia. There was talk about whether the United States should intervene. There was talk about how much funding should go to support the Colombian army to fight the drug cartels and the guerrillas. How much does the community, the Colombian community here, want U.S. involvement, and to what level?
Well, that's the Colombians that are here are in a way divided by opinions. I believe that a lot of people that recently have come from Colombia are different types of people that emigrated from Colombia years ago. The people that are coming today are the people that have money, the people that have education, and they would like to eventually go back to Colombia. So we have 2 forces. We have one force that would like to see some peace negotiations finally come to the table and resolve the very complex issue that we have. But we also have some people that would like to obtain TPS, the famous Temporary Protective Service that is pending in Congress right now.
So that Colombians can stay here
So that
legally.
Colombian can stay here. The program is pending right now, and the program will be only for temporary protection. But as I said, you know, I think that some people would like to have intervention so that the program, the complex issue is terminated, but at the same time, some other people would like to go back. Now, the problem that we're having is that, in a way, the Colombian community that is here needs to have more involvement. For instance, we saw how in the Dominican Republic, for instance, the president came to the United States and he did active campaigning in the United States because he saw that there was a big population of Dominicans here and that it would affect the election process in Dominican Republic.
But it does with the Colombian community as well. I mean,
does.
You guys vote here, right? You vote.
Yeah, actually, the Constitution was reformed not too long ago, and it enables Colombians living in the United States or anywhere
to
out
vote
of
in
Colombia
Colombian elections.
to vote and elect
right.
members of the Senate and President of Colombia.
So that you have certain power here, and what you say is that they should be coming over here to campaign.
Absolutely, and you know, as you mentioned that, and everybody knows. For instance, this past year, 40,000 families from Colombia emigrated to Florida, and we have about 15,000 families in New York alone, and New Jersey is growing tremendously.
But
so
Wilson, more people are leaving than ever. The
yes.
rush is on now.
Yes.
I mean, it's not just the rich, it's everybody who wants to try to get out because the situation is so bad.
Right, yeah. The perception that we have, Miguel, is something like happened in Israel, just for comparison. We have a perception of what's going on and what should be done in Colombia. And the people in Colombia has another ideas, different ideas. They are living the tragedy, they are facing the situation. And that's why we sometimes, we want to support, but we have to listen more for the people who are there because they are the real people who are paying the price. The situation concerns the most to me is that the people who are capable of bringing the social change in Colombia are leaving the country. We are exporting the brains of the future of Colombia. And that's something very troublesome for me.
Mm-hmm. But Wilson, you are a Colombian Jew. And as someone who is very involved in the I should say you're very, very involved in the Colombian-American community, but you're also very involved in Israel and in the Jewish-American community. And I've talked to you in the past, you've made tremendous comparisons people don't even think about in terms of how similar this Colombian situation is to what's going on in Israel. Tell me about that.
Well, Miguel, Israel is something which is in my heart every time. And like I say every time in the morning when I pray, I remember I just wander through the streets of Jerusalem, and at the same time I pray about my family in Colombia. So you see this is the solidarity with Israel, the blue one, and the solidarity with Colombia, the green one, because our people are very close to my heart. But in this case, I mentioned to you in December the situation like the terrorists going on in Israel and terrorism going in Colombia. Today, I just want to mention to you, people are living in thousands, people are living everywhere, and they are becoming pariahs in the world. That concerns me, like if you know that Spain, which was the country who opened the borders to Colombians and Latin Americans, now they are requesting that people have a visa before entering the country.
No, but you were telling me that as a Colombian Jew, you get up every morning, you put on the radio, and you don't know where the bomb is going off, whether it's somewhere in Israel or somewhere in Colombia. And so every day you get bad news from one of the two places.
That's correct. And at this stage, like seeing what is going on now, I feel so bad for the people who are, they are basically living, they are stateless, they have no place to go. And I remember, my memories go back to 50 or 56 years ago when the Holocaust. My people were living and they were not finding any place who will accept them. That is going on to Colombians today. They are trying to live anywhere to save their lives, and everybody's closing the doors from them.
And in both countries, you have a president that is seeking peaceful negotiations, and in both countries, it doesn't seem to be working for years.
Well, in Colombia, for example, after many years, we have to remember that President Belisario Betancourt began peace negotiations with some of the guerrilla groups, and M19, which was one of the most politically involved terrorist groups, abide to the law, and they became members of the society. And as a matter of fact, some members of the M19 group are now members of the Colombian Congress. With FARC,
the problem is you have 3 other rebel groups out now. The right-wing groups, the paramilitares. You have 2 left-wing groups out there. And if you keep going the way you are, you're going to have 4 Colombias pretty soon.
But I have to say something about the paramilitares. They are being identified as right-wing groups. Mm-hmm. I think that keeping in mind that the armed forces of Colombia have been unable to contain the forces of the FARC and the ELN, what citizens have done, and wealthy people, is they have created their own army to defend their interests, to defend the interest of of a free country.
But in the case of the FARC, the government has basically ceded a whole chunk of Colombia to the FARC. The other rebel group also wants its own territory. What's going to happen if you keep sectioning out Colombia this way? You're going to end up with 4 countries?
Well, the problem is when Pastrana,
The president of Colombia.
the current president of Colombia, was doing his campaign, the big campaign theme was that finally he was going to come to peace for Colombia. So he did a lot of conversations with the FARC, and it was agreed that a portion of Colombia, which is located in the south, Caquetá, one of the departments, a portion was going to be given to the FARC so that the negotiations could take place there. Obviously, the Constitution doesn't apply to that zone, and hopefully that was going to be the end of the war. Well, the problem that we have right now is that the EPN wants to have another zone as well. So we're having the reaction
Instead
of the
reintegrating
civilians.
Colombia, you're disintegrating it.
So we're having the reaction of the civilians saying, enough already. We don't want any more of our territory to be given to the different groups, because this is not the way.
That's the attitude I hear from a lot of Colombians here, at least in the United States. They're tired of the peace negotiations. They don't believe in them anymore. How long? It's been 40 years you guys have been at civil war, or more than 40 years.
I don't think the peace negotiations are going to accomplish anything. Our country is beyond that. You cannot prosecute a criminal who kidnapped for violating the penal code, but you cannot prosecute a member of a guerrilla group who does the same thing. You cannot have a double standard in our country, which is what is happening right now. We're beyond peace negotiations. We're beyond that.
So you support what the United States, $1.3 billion is given Colombia, the plan, the famous Plan Colombia. The United States Congress is now actively supporting, supposedly to fight the drug war, but they're so related. I mean, in Colombia, you don't know who is who in terms of the drug war. Especially the leftist guerrillas are very much in tied with it's the same thing practically, isn't it? The leftist war isn't it funded by drugs?
It is funded by drugs, and they are coming to the point that they're creating their own system where they are collecting taxes, like the FARC is collecting taxes from companies or people who are over $1 million. And they are, a lot of people are going in Bogota. The headquarters for collecting the taxes are around the capital. So it's a lot of people who are acting like messengers to deliver the taxes to the guerrillas, and they have to go. And now the police is trying to catch these people when they are going to deliver the payment of the taxes. But the situation is chaotic, because I think Colombia needs not thinking about the political issue to be the negotiator of peace in this government. This situation took 40 years to come to the point where it is now. That, had to prepare for a long journey to peace. This is nothing we are going to accomplish in 4 or 10 years. I only remember that my Bible, when the people of Israel lived in slavery in Egypt, the generation that was the slavery people in Egypt, they died in the desert, because the new generation, who were free people, are the ones who were able to accomplish the promised land. In Colombia, the people who want to bring the peace, we have to start with the new generations. The people who have been in the guerrilla for so many years, they are not able, they don't have the mentality, they don't have the will to do that.
So the hope of Colombia is in people like yourselves coming back, and because so much talent has left, and so many people have left, that you hope that someday, I would think, all of this talent comes back to Colombia to give something back. Is that going to happen, or are people establishing themselves here to the point where Colombia is basically losing these resources, of this human resource?
As I said before, I think that we have some people that had so much pain already that they would like to already establish themselves here and start from a new life. But there are many other people that have their connections, their families, everything, and their final intention would be to go back over there. And obviously the immigration of all these people that have talent, that have intelligence, education, money, is affecting the economy overall. So hopefully we will go back to Colombia.
What does FARC stand for, so that people know exactly what we're talking about? The Frente, what is it?
Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia.
Okay, so that's the biggest rebel group in Colombia,
Right now, and
better known as
was,
FARC.
and it is believed that it was the first that was formed. It is believed that it was formed immediately after the assassination of Gaitán in the 1940s.
And nowadays we talk more about the guerrilla and the political war in Colombia. Before, a few years ago, I think it was even more harmful in a sense to the Colombian community here, because the image then was the drug war and the drug dealers and the negative stereotypes that created for the Colombian community here. You guys, I've heard from many Colombians over the years. It's, look, I can't even tell people that I'm Colombian because they look at me funny, or they'll ask me, where's the cocaine, or something like that. And I know a lot of Colombians who are offended by this because they're decent, honest, hardworking people. Is that still a problem in the community, or is that dwindling down now?
I think that has changed, and it has changed in the last 4 years. Now that you see these Colombians living in a massive exodus, who are professionals, who are lawyers, who are economists, intelligent people who have settled in the United States and are working hard. We cannot be stereotyped by less than 1% who choose the wrong path to dishonor our country. And on a quick note, Miguel, we and most of the Colombians want the help for Plan Colombia to be approved in the United States Congress and fight illegal narcotics trafficking. But we also have to keep in mind that one of the things that we do not want is these chemicals and defoliants used on our soil that destroy the life of animals, the life of people. Flora and fauna of our country.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that has been one of the problems with Plan Colombia, because obviously attached to the money there are a number of limitations or a number of conditions that are being placed on the government of Colombia, and a lot of those conditions cannot be met because of our constitution, because of what people believe is strong.
And again, it's a very fine line between, are we supporting the drug war, or are we supporting, or are we meddling in a civil war, in a political civil war in Colombia? And again, how do you separate the two? Because again, the leftist guerrillas and the drug dealers sometimes are the same people.
It cannot be separated. Drug cartels are outlaws. Guerrilla groups are behaving as such. It cannot be separated. Guerrilla groups are financed by the drug cartels, who are protecting the crops and the growing of the coca in a part of Colombia.
Wilson, the Hispanic Alliance of New Jersey over in Inglewood every year sponsors a big Colombian festival for the Independence Day in July, is it?
In July. This year
July 20th is
this year.
I remember my Colombian history. July 20th is your Independence Day. You have a big festival, and there what I see is people saying this is the one day when we get to release all this tension, when we come together as Colombians to celebrate who we are as a people, how proud we are of our culture, our music, our heritage. It's a wonderful thing that you do there every year. Tell me about that festival.
Well, Miguel, this year festival, I want to mention the fact that we are going to celebrate the Independence Day celebration on July the 15th. But we started doing this 10 years ago because one of the reasons is the image that the Colombian community has, and want to show the American people and everybody around the world that we are not that kind of people, that if you look at the numbers, it's maybe 1% of 42 million Colombians who are involved in the guerrillas. So we have large community in New Jersey, people who are working and trying to accomplish their American dream. And we try to put together a day of celebration and honoring our roots and our past. And
you get 30, 40,000 people together in a park, orderly, everybody behaves themselves, everybody has a great time, but it's a show of what the Colombian community really is in New Jersey. And I go around interviewing people, and they all say the same thing. This is what we're really about. It's not the image presented in the media about us.
Right.
It's a major concern, isn't it, for Colombians here?
It definitely is, and I think that some of the issues that are taking place in our country have been exaggerated by the media for, of course, obvious reasons.
But that is something, Miguel, want to add, that the image of the Colombian community around the world is different. The perception that we have here, is different from the perception they have when they go to Europe or Israel. I think, like in Europe at this stage, the community, the Colombian community, are feeling like we were feeling about 4 years ago or 5 years ago. So bad that people don't want them anywhere.
Well, one thing, I'm glad you mentioned that, because one thing that I perceive all the time in the Colombian community is that there's highs and there are lows. People, I think around Christmas time, just last year, there was this optimism that the peace process was actually going to work. And then everybody in the Colombian community gets their hopes high, and then something else happens, some other terrorist attack or some other, massive murder of people. And then, it goes back down again. Do you go through those lows and those highs, and is that depressing, hard to deal with?
Yeah, we go through that, whatever happened in the news, what's going on with the president, what's going on in the negotiation, affect the morale of the country and wherever we are. And that's something that because one of the reasons is believing that we are going to accomplish peace in the in the short run is a dream, it's stupid. I believe we're going to do that. We had to create a lot of different strategies to accomplish a peace, because I know Colombia, one of the things that we need more than arms and helicopters and guns, we need social investment by the millions. That way, when we create confidence in the people, when we create the farmers going back to their farms, that they got the support of the government, then we can think of the mentality that these people are going to believe in the government. And when we are going to do that, we have to believe that these people who are displaced, who don't have any trust in the government, they are going to start believe that we have to build our country.
And here in this country, Ileana, there's a lot of Colombians. You are now the president of the Hispanic Bar Association of New Jersey. So you're making a mark. As a Colombian woman, you're making a mark. You're saying, hey, look, I am a professional, you're a lawyer, but you're also heading a lawyers association. What does that mean in terms of, what does that mean in terms of the message that you're sending out as a Colombian woman that, you're in an important position now?
Well, the message is, it's a message of hope. It's a message of educating the people. It's a message of believing in ourselves, and to show the people that just arrived to the United States or that have been here for a couple of years that we have to fight not only for our goals that we have in the long run over there, but also for the goals here. Now, it's very interesting. This position has been giving me a lot of opportunities to change the image of Colombian. Like George said, since about 4 years ago, that image has changed a little, but there is still a lot of people that have stereotypes and still connect us with the drug trafficking and the smuggling. So it has given me the opportunity to go on the air sometimes, to speak to different audiences and
But when you say, I'm the president of the Hispanic Bar Association, and then also in the same conversation you say, I'm Colombian, do they go, oh, you're Colombian?
Right.
Do they?
Yeah, some people do. Some people do.
So it's raising some eyebrows.
Absolutely.
And that's important.
It is very important.
And is that happening throughout the community? Are Colombians making a mark?
I have to say, Miguel, we, the Colombian community, we're very proud of Eliana. She's the first Colombian who became the president of the Hispanic Bar Association in New Jersey, which is a very powerful organization, and we're very proud of her. And maybe the eyebrows are raised, but maybe they're raised not because she is Colombian, but because this is the first time that a Colombian holds that high position.
But is that happening throughout the community? Do you see more and more Colombians making a mark and making you feel proud like you felt about Ileana?
It is beginning to happen, and I have to say that although I'm not supportive of the peace process because I feel that it's not going to take us anywhere, I think President Pastrana has not only internationalized the peace process, exposed the guerrilla groups, but has also created a different perception of Colombians outside of Colombia.
He recently brought in dignitaries from all over the world who met with the guerrillas. Do you think that's a good move? Because now it involves the guerrillas with the rest of the world, and if they don't comply, they don't look good before the whole world?
It is a very good move, not because we're going to accomplish anything by doing that, because I don't think the guerrilla groups are acting in good faith. It is a good move because it is bringing...
It compromises them before the rest of the world.
Definitely, and it is exposing the guerrilla groups to the international media. So it situates them in a corner and places a great deal of pressure on the guerrilla groups to do something about the peace process.
We have about a minute left. Tell me, anybody, are you optimistic? Are you pessimistic? You said it was a long-term thing, but are we still going to see worse? Is it going to get worse before it gets better?
I think at this stage could be getting worse before it starts getting better. Yes.
At this stage, I don't think it can get any worse. I mean, it has been very bad for the last 2 years. We have people that are kidnapped. Years ago, they used to kidnap people with a lot of money. Now they're kidnapping anybody. So I really don't think it could get any worse.
Even a church full of people at one point. They came in and took a whole church, a whole congregation.
Yeah.
That's absurd.
I think whomever is going to be the president of Colombia next time, and I believe they are getting prepared for elections, that is going to play a very important role and very decisive role in what is going to happen with the peace process.
We'll have to keep tabs of that. We're out of time. I thank you very much for being on the program. I think we've made a contribution as far as informing people about what the community, Colombian community is all about here and what's happening in Colombia. And we'll have to continue this discussion, I promise. It's very important to follow up on what's happening in our communities here in New Jersey. Thank you for being on the program. And Wilson, you brought in some Colombian goodies. So as we say goodbye, we'll see you next week on another edition of Images, Imágenes. Hasta pronto. We're going to have some Colombian goodies here. So let's pass these around. These are great.